Hi there, Thomasina Williams of Sankofa Legacy Advisors, back for day 8 of my 10-day video series, inviting you to reimagine what might be possible if you choose to engage differently with your family. Day 1 was December 27th, where the invitation was simply that, to reimagine what might be possible if you choose to engage differently with your family. Day 2, the invitation was to reflect on who you might need to become in order to engage differently with your family. What qualities or characteristics might you want to bring forward? And then day 3 was an invitation to reflect on where do you feel discomfort in your body as it relates to engaging with your family? Our bodies often have lots of important information to share with us, just that we tend to override it. Day four's invitation was to reflect on the factual context for the different occasions where you feel discomfort in your body, and then to think about what are the patterns that you notice in those different factual contexts. Day 5, we started moving into patterns and addressed the first of 4 patterns that humans tend to default to as a way to ease discomfort whenever there's tension in a relationship. Day 5 was an invitation to reflect on where are you involved in an anxious triangle? Where have you perhaps inserted yourself between 2 other family members? Or where have you been asked to carry messages between family members? Or perhaps there is a situation where there's some underlying tension or discomfort in a relationship. And rather than focus on that relationship, you've chosen to focus on a third party. Those are all examples of where you might be engaged in an anxious triangle. Then on day 6, we moved on to the second of the 4 patterns, over and under functioning, which are exactly what the terminology says. If you are over functioning, the question was to reflect on where you might be doing more than is your responsibility to do in a given situation, more than your current responsibility. Perhaps you had responsibility at some point, but now it's time for others to step up. The other side of the coin, the reciprocity factor of over under functioning, is to reflect on where you might be under functioning, where you might be stepping back from your responsibilities and allowing others to do for you what you could do for yourself. Then we moved on to day 7 yesterday, which was the third pattern, conflict. People often think about conflict as personal, when actually it's the system responding to underlying tension. And the reactivity of 2 people simply is a place where that tension is erupting. The invitation was to reflect on where might you be in a conflict with someone that appears to be personal, but as you reflect on it, it's actually about the lack of clarity regarding some underlying need, interest, boundary, expectation, or you're giving people the impression that you agree when actually you do not. Today, day 8, we are now on the fourth of the 4 patterns, distance. When you hear the term distance, you may immediately think about physical distance. And physical distance could be an indication of anxiety within a system. I have a client who moved from the South all the way to Alaska, literally Alaska. Another client who moved from the East Coast to California, across the country. They both said to, quote, get away from their families. If the move is motivated by a desire to, quote, get away from family, then you're actually emotionally still tied to the family if family is what's driving the decision. Distance isn't always physical, it is emotional as well. Consider the fact that you may have someone living in the same household or candidly sleeping in the same bed, and there is an emotional distance between those folks. So it can be either physical or emotional. Distance also can mean that there is no distance, literally, that there is fusion between two individuals. I worked with a couple where they would not have a conversation separately. Every time we were to meet, either both of them had to be present or there was no conversation. That is an over closeness where there is no distance, no space for people to think and engage separately. So today's invitation is, where are you engaged in a relationship where there is distance? Whether that's physical distance driven by a desire to get away from family because of underlying tension, or it's an emotional distance. You're physically present, but have kind of checked out. Examples of that might include little things like changing the subject rather than engaging in conversation. It might be watching television or being on your phone rather than engaging in conversation. And then also reflect on, where are there circumstances perhaps where you're overly close and not allowing distance between yourself and other family members, insisting that everyone has to go to the family vacation home at the same time, insisting that everyone must be at a certain location at a certain time is a type of distance, in that it does not allow for separation or independence within the family. So that's it. We've now touched on all four of the patterns that humans automatically, instinctively, without thinking about it, default to as a way to ease discomfort within their relationships. Tomorrow, we'll talk about some ways in which you can guard against that underlying tension so that you are able to engage differently with your family. But again, for today, I invite you to reflect on, where is there distance in your relationships where you are physically distancing yourself to, quote, get away from family because of some underlying discomfort, or you are perhaps emotionally distancing yourself. You're physically present, but essentially emotionally checked out. Or the third possibility is that there is no space or distance for individuality because of some kind of underlying tension within the relationship. That's it for day 8. I will be back tomorrow with day 9. Thank you.